Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by Taylor Ferns. How are you?
I'm doing well. Great to see you again. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I know we just saw each other at the Toledo Flat Rock Media Day, but wanted to kind of give an update for kind of everybody to because it has been a while since you've been on here, and you've been up to a lot of stuff. Obviously, you've had a couple big announcements. Um, So, of course, you got the big Silver Crown race coming up next weekend at Toledo Speedway.
Yeah.
How excited are you to kick off that season? And we'll get to the other stuff later.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, I feel like this is like an annual tradition for us. We always kind of like catch up around this time. So like
Absolutely.
preseason, got to get the preseason media stuff done. No, but thanks for having me. I'm like really excited to get going. For specifically this weekend will be my first race of the season outside of obviously racing Chili Bowl in January, but I'll be racing my sprint car this upcoming Sunday, the 14th at Anderson with the 500 Sprint Car Tour. Which I think will be good just to kind of knock the cobwebs off, before we go to Toledo on the 20th and race with the U6 Silver Crown Series. And then after that, we really get the ball rolling, like then head to Winchester, then go to Belleville. Then we have Carb Night, or now it's the Hoosier 100. To me, the Hoosier 100 will always be at the Indy Fairgrounds. So I will always like refer to it as Carb Night. But yeah, no, I'm just really excited to get the season going and just grateful to have the great partners that I do that continue to support me and keep me on the track, because I literally would not be able to do this without them. Specifically Bradford Allen, Mobile One, Car IQ Pay, and then a handful of other my product vendors that help me out where they can. And so that really just keeps me going, helps me pay my bills. And it's not cheap to live nowadays, let alone
Absolutely.
participate in racing. So yeah, just really grateful for them and to get the season going.
Yeah. So, let's talk about the obvious. You've got some it's the same thing that you've been doing for a few years, but you have some more exciting opportunities, especially, this year with Able Motorsports. You're going to be running the Oval Indy Next races for them. How did that get put together?
So I'm going to be honest with you. I have been, aside from like working towards doing something like this for a large part of my career, after I took my little education hiatus, we'll call it, and came back and, having success right off the bat, one thing that I was eyeing was to go Indy Next, IndyCar racing and pursue that route. Cause, before I tried doing the stock car route, and I was like, you know what, maybe we'll try something different. And so for about the past year and a half, 2 years, I had been eyeing to do the Indy Light stuff. And then, talking with a bunch of different teams, and, I kind of work low key. And so, I'd show up at some of the tests or some of the races and, just interact with a lot of the teams just to kind of do the background work and get educated. Like, okay, how much does testing cost? How much is it for a race? This, that, and the other. Kind of look at and talk with some of the key players, and luckily enough, Levi Jones is now the series director for Indy Next. And, I grew up racing with Levi when I was younger in the USAC stuff. And so, already had that connection there. And so, he kind of helped connect me with a handful of people and teams as well. And so, I was talking with honestly with 2 or 3 different teams, this, that, and the other. And it got to one point during the off season, I was like, man, is this deal actually gonna come together? And so, finally, with the help of a handful of other people, we got in contact with John Bruner at Able Motorsports, and kind of put the deal together, pretty quick. And so, just felt like overall, Able came highly recommended for a handful of people that I trust. And they also are really strong on the ovals, and so that was like a big thing as well. And definitely being John Bruner led, John Bruner and I were kind of connecting because when I did the Mazda Road to Indy Combine like over 10 years ago after I won my
Right. I
USAC,
forgot you did that.
John was running Bilardi at the time. And so we were testing and that's who I tested with. So we were like, oh, we probably met each other then. And we just don't remember. So
Mm.
anyway, very much a family environment, which is like what I'm used to from when I was racing ARCA with the Venturinis, or like running my own team, or racing for my dad, or even when I went off and raced with like Bobby East or Daryl Garducci with Team Six Star and Jetstar, very much family environments. And, I connected with the guys really well the past month. I've been going in there, visiting with the able guys, getting lunch and so on and so forth. And so, definitely I set high expectations not only for myself, but the people I work with. And so I definitely, that was a key element that I wanted to work with a team that I know had good equipment. So I knew when we go out there, like we had a shot to run up front. And so, just looking forward to our potential that we have.
Yeah, for sure. So you're going to run a majority of the USAC races along with those four ovals for Indy Next.
Mhm.
So what's on the Silver Crown side, what's that going to be like to you got a bunch of races coming up with that? Obviously that wins right around the corner. You've been knocking at the door, and that's gonna eventually the door will collapse.
Well,
But
like the Berlin Wall.
yeah. So what's that, this upcoming season, what do you feel like it's going to be another star-studded field this year, and it starts next week in Toledo.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, definitely racing with not only, there's a lot of overlap between the sprint car stuff, the pavement sprint car stuff that I run, and then the Silver Crown stuff, a lot of the similar or same key players. And so I like to think every time I show up to the track, I'm like one of those 4 or 5 guys that has the chance at winning. And so, last year obviously did not go our way at all. Obviously carried a lot of speed and it had a lot of momentum at a lot of the races. But it's racing, things happen, and it just the stars didn't align at all. And so, just putting all the pieces to the puzzle together, hopefully, and just being consistent, or having strong qualifying runs so we can start up front and staying up there. And then hopefully that will kind of 2 years ago I was running podium position at least for a majority of the pavement sprint car races. And last year we had to work for it a little bit more, kind of starting mid pack and, passing. But, I think those are a lot of elements that, you kind of have to go through stages like that, whether in life or in racing, to kind of get to where you want to go. And so, I feel like we've paid our dues, and I feel like it's time. So, it's always tough to get that first one and get the monkey off our back, but it's coming. So time will tell.
Yeah. So going into, you're obviously going to be doing something else as well this season. And actually, this week, you are finishing up law school.
Yeah, so tomorrow, Thursday, is my last law school class, and then we'll have reading and review period, which is kind of like where you study, create your outlines and stuff for your finals or finish up your papers or whatnot. And then I only have one final to take, like the first week of May. And yeah, then I'm done. I graduate May 13th. They're gonna let me out of there, hopefully. And so, it's been quite the 4 years. Like, even though it's gone by fast, literally, I feel like figuratively, it has been a long time coming. Definitely a lot of work that has gone into it. People probably don't know this, but I worked full time for a majority of my law school career, in addition to doing my racing, and then split life living between Metro Detroit and Metro Indianapolis, and moving back and forth, and so all the things that go into racing that I handle, and then having a job, and then doing law school on top of it, and then just being a normal 28-year-old. It's been a lot, but it's made me into who I am. And so I feel like it will definitely set me up for success as I go forward.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, so going into, what are we going to expect out of you this year? Obviously, doing a lot of this stuff and all that, and just really the excitement of what you got coming for 2024.
Yeah, so I'm manifesting just by saying like 2024, my year. And we'll start that off by we're just checking things off the list, like I'll graduate law school here in a few weeks, check that off. Hopefully, I have goals that I set for myself personally, and then obviously for my team. And, we didn't meet those goals or expectations last year at all. Because I expect us to win. There's no reason why we shouldn't be outside of like obviously racing happens, life happens. And 2023 was one of those years for us, but I wouldn't be surprised if we end up in the winner circle at least a couple of times. Um whether it's sprint car or silver crown, and then even with the Indy next stuff, I don't want to be naive. Like I'm putting in a lot of back end work as far as like physical preparation and like working out with pit fit and training. Because everybody talks about how physically demanding the Indy next cars are. So also I kind of like, not to be ignorant, but I also say, okay, but a lot of these guys have never raced a sprint car or silver crown car for 100 miles, but I'm just being as prepared as I can be. So definitely working out in the training aspect, and then I'll be testing like a few different formula cars a handful of times before we actually go and test the next car. And then on top of that, doing some simulator training, working with Delara and things of that nature. So, there's going to be a lot of back end work that goes into it, but I'm just trying to trying to set myself up for success right off the bat. Obviously there's going to be some learning that goes into it and just adapting to the new car and things of that nature. But, I'm prepared for it. I love to learn and I'm a student of the game. So, you never know. We'll see what happens, but I have high expectations for the Able Motorsports crew and myself.
Absolutely. All right. Taylor Ferns, thanks so much for the time as always. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep, thanks.